the Union government has unveiled a 3-bill package which is to be put up in Parliament. And this is going to affect you way more than you think. No, it is not just about women reservation. No, this is not just about how number of seats in Lok Sabha are going to increase. It is so much more about the fact that your political representation is going to be redesigned. There will be restructuring of the whole electoral democracy with these 3 bills that we are going to discuss today. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and in today's session we are going to understand these 3 bills which have been put forth, what are they proposing, how are they important, and every detail around it. So let us begin with understanding the 3 bills itself, that what are the bills that are being proposed and what exactly the government is trying to do. So the 3 bills that are being proposed here is first 131st Constitutional Amendment Bill. The second one is the Delimitation Bill, and the third one we have Territories Amendment Law Bill of 2025. Now if we connect this, we can understand that the Delimitation Bill of 2026 wants to change, first lift up the freeze that is existing and make delimitation under the control of Parliament. That means the Parliament will be responsible for deciding when it happens and how it happens. Second, when we are talking about the Territories Law Amendment Bill, in this context you have to understand, when we are talking about operationalizing the 33% women reservation, we need to redraw the constituencies. So in this context, amendment to that bill is also required. And the third bill, which proposes a constitutional amendment, is about increasing the Lok Sabha seats, which are constitutionally as of now 543, and that will be increased to 850. So you can clearly see here the objective here is to restructure the political representation that exists, and the move is not just a reform which is being put forth, it is a systemic design of democracy which is being changed. And it is combining both representation and also gender justice. Now in this context, let us understand that what are the constitutional changes which are being proposed. So when we are looking at constitutional changes, the first constitutional change is going towards Article 170. Now this is for the assembly seat adjustment that will take place once the constituencies are redrawn. This is for the assembly seat adjustment that would be required. The second, we have Article 82. The first key amendment will be taking place for Article 170, which will be for the readjustment of assembly seats. Then we will have Article 81. This will be amended for Lok Sabha expansion, and then also Article 334A, so as to ensure that women's reservation is operationalized. Now in this context, once we have understood that what are the fundamental things that are being amended here, now let us move forward to look into that why women's reservation is linked with delimitation here. So as of now, if we clearly understand that women reservation was introduced in 2023 through the Constitutional Amendment Act, which mandated 33% reservation to women. Now when we are talking about this reservation being actually implemented, that means we have to redraw the constituencies that exist and we have to allocate the seats, and these allocations cannot be fixed, it has to rotate. Now if we want that, if we have to redraw the constituencies and we have to allocate seats and also ensure the rotation, in this context we have to first actually mark out the constituencies. Now the problem here is the constituencies have been frozen since 1976. I am talking about 42nd Amendment Act because the population was increasing and it would disturb the distribution of seats. It has not been frozen just once, it has been frozen twice. Initially it was frozen up and until 2001, later it has been frozen till 2026. Can you tell me which Constitutional Amendment Act led to the freeze of seats up to 2026? Now if we want to redraw constituencies, we need delimitation. And if delimitation will not happen, then we will not be able to implement this. So first of all, this is where the linkage comes. Delimitation is very important for actually bringing in this reservation. If this does not happen, then the reservation and altogether this Constitutional Amendment Act or the promise or the idea of gender justice, all of it will just remain symbolic. Now when we are talking about delimitation, how it is going to be done? That becomes an important question. Now when we are talking about delimitation itself, it is the act of fixing or redrawing the electoral constituencies. Now there are constitutional provisions present for delimitation as well. Article 82 talks about that every census will lead to readjustment of electoral constituencies. That means it should have been done in 2021 also, but if you remember, we have already frozen it till 2026. Another thing that you need to remember, that we have not conducted the census in 2021 because of COVID. This has begun and probably it will be materialized. This will be the first digital census and it will be materialized by the next year, that is 2027. So if we wait for another census, then the implementation will also be delayed. So delimitation needs to be done immediately. But if delimitation occurs, that has other set of problems which we will be discussing in detail. But at the same time, another article which talks about population seat proportionality, that when the seats are being decided, one person equal to one vote needs to be ensured. In that, proportion is very important. So if we do it at the given number of seats, it is going to be heavily compromised. That is why we are looking at a proposal by the government to increase it. The government is also proposing that the delimitation, if it is delayed further, it is going to create a lot of problems in terms of implementation. So what do? We are proposing that delimitation is no longer automatic. That means it is not tied to every census. Who will decide it? Parliament will decide it. Constitution will not decide it. And Parliament will decide the timing and Parliament will decide the factors on which delimitation will take place. Because if delimitation happens merely based on population, then we know that southern states will lose on seats because they have improved in their population numbers, in their total fertility rate. But if we look at northern state where the population has increased over the years, and that population will lead to getting them more seats. So if we do not want that, this is what government is proposing, that the delimitation decision comes with whom? It comes with the Parliament. And they are proposing that there will be immediate removal of the freeze that has been put up till 2026 and delimitation will be done based on the latest available census. The latest available census that we have is 2011. Another thing that has been talked about is Delimitation Commission, which will be chaired by Supreme Court judge, and there will be presence of Election Commission as well as the state members. And the final orders of Delimitation Commission will have the force of law and they will not be challengeable in court. So these are also important features that we need to think about, that if Parliament gets to decide the basis and Delimitation Commission works on that basis, they will come with the force of law and they are not challengeable in court. That means the ultimate authority resides with Parliament. So this is also a shift from rule-based system to discretion-based system, and discretion of whom? Discretion of Parliament. Now let us move to further understand a few other dimensions around these proposals that have been put forth. So when we are talking about delimitation, delimitation has always been politically sensitive, and that is why you will be able to understand that it has been frozen twice. That if we do it based on the population, South, which has lower population growth and the fertility rate remains controlled, and they have successfully done the demographic transition, and if it goes based on population, they will lose seats. But if we look at northern states, they have higher population growth, the fertility rates compared to southern states has been higher, their transition is slower, and they will be gaining seat. And because southern states have performed better in social indicators, why should they be penalized for that? So if we are looking at a population based delimitation, and please remember, parliament is going to decide the basis. So if parliament decides the basis remains the population, then south is going to lose the seats. So in this context, the debate is about that it should not just be about equality of vote, that is through population, but it should also be about equity, that how the southern states have performed, and they should not be penalized, rather rewarded for that, and how this needs to be done. And that is why a lot of questions are around that will southern states lose the seats. So there are three conditions to it. Let us bifurcate and understand the possibilities that exist. Now, parliament is going to decide the basis of allocation. So if it is population based allocation, it is definitely going to favor high population northern states, and it is going to violate the fundamental balance perception as well. It is going to violate the federal balance proportion as well. There is another possibility which seems more real, because government would not also want to touch the politically sensitive, especially in the given volatile environment. When we are looking at language wars, when we see southern states feeling already that they are being penalized for the growth they have shown. So in this context, the possibility that we are talking about 543 to 850, uniform seat expansion, all the states get proportionate increase, but the problem here will be there will be unequal constituency sizes. So the equality that we are talking about, that will be compromised, and there will be absolute distortion of one person, one vote. And then comes the hybrid formula, which is most likely to happen, where there will be a fair balance between population as a basis and also the existing representation. The government has continuously assured that southern states are not going to lose out, but the mechanism that will be used to ensure that remains unspecified, thus raising the anxiety, especially for southern states. So in this context, yes, the proposal of these bills raises a lot of questions, is put forth to a lot of debate, but in order to bring these bills into act, we would need not just government but opposition as well on it. So let me know your thoughts on these proposals. What are your ends that you think is this right way to go, or if not, then what can be done? And in last, I would like to cover it from varied dimensions, where we just not understand that what is going on, but we also look into that what are the other concerns such as related to governance and federalism. Because when we are talking about concentration of power towards parliament, it is about centralization of power as well. This will weaken the automatic constitutional mechanism. There will be creation of federal trust deficit. Southern states have the continuous fear of losing the voice in national policy making. This will have fiscal implication as well, such as for finance commission, such as for GST share, and so much more. And then we have institutional concerns as well, where the role of delimitation commission is rooted in neutrality. When we have had past commissions independent, but the new framework suggests a little otherwise. So yes, we do have positive aspects, but we have a lot at risk as well. So in the coming time, the ideal way to go is expecting a transparent formula where government is not playing on opacity. We are expecting a strengthened delimitation commission, rather facilitated with non-centralized powers, and then definitely balanced federal equity with phased implementation of Women Reservation Act. Because the act which was passed in 2023, still 3 years is looking towards implementation, and if it is not operationalized, it rather remains symbolic, which cannot be celebrated as a pointer for gender justice. Now, I'll be leaving you here with the prelims practice question. Let me know the answer in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.